Yeah. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So we are currently awaiting our panelists. As I told you earlier, we have one from engineering and one from the sociology department at University of Manitoba. So just give me a minute or two to allow them in. If in the meantime you do have any questions, please draw my attention. I'll be happy to assist with that. And yeah. So just let me know if you have any pending questions before we start. If not, I think that's fine as well. Yeah. So I guess, yeah. I also uploaded the respective schools on the website. So when you go to the website, you tend to see the schools over there. What I realized was that most of you were choosing schools within the same province. And I think even some of you within the same department or faculty. So you probably want to be careful about that and see how best you can diversify. So what I try doing here is to give you an idea as to where to find which schools and which programs. So if, for instance, you're interested in British Columbia, these are some of the schools that you might want to have a look at. So we have UBC, we have Simon Fraser, University of Victoria, we have these respective schools. Ideally, we don't want a situation where everyone will be applying to the University of Manitoba, University of Simon Fraser University. That might not necessarily be the best strategy for us. So let's try as much as possible to diversify. When you go to Alberta, for instance, these are some of the schools that you might be interested in looking at. So what I realized is most of you were pointing out that I applied to University of Calgary, but there are other good schools in Alberta, like University of Alberta and this particular university as well. So try as much as possible to diversify as you apply. When you go to Saskatchewan as well, there are other schools as well. It's not necessarily University of Saskatchewan. There are other good universities there. We have Regina, we have University of Saskatchewan is also. These are the 2K universities there. So please try and have a look at it and see how best you can strategize in that respect. If there are any questions, please feel free to let me know. I'll try and go see whether our panelists are in here. Let me see whether we have, we have Professor Asuma here. So Professor Asuma is from the University of Manitoba Sociology Department. He's going to be one of our panelists today. I'm looking for Professor Boache. Professor Boache is equally here as well. So he's going to talk to us as well. So we have the two professors here. It's going to be an open session. Feel free to ask any questions related to the application process and what they look out for. So it's open to them now. Professor Joseph and Professor Solomon, please feel free to introduce yourself briefly to the team. Professor Solomon? Professor Solomon, can you?
Let me see the video session.
Can you guys use the mic or?
Can you see me?
Can you guys hear me from your end?
Hello. Oh, turn the video off. Where is the video?
Count the timer down and then automatically bring everyone back together at that time. Now, if you do have this selected, the checkbox down below will become enabled, notifying you when that time is up. I'm gonna leave that unchecked for now. And then the last one here is a countdown.
Sorry, sorry, I had video on. Sorry, Prof, please go ahead.
Hello, Farouk.
Yes, Prof. So, Prof. Joseph.
Yeah, it's like my video is off.
Oh. Okay, let me see whether I can promote to the panelists then. Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead, Prof. See whether it's going to be on. And let me quickly do that to Professor. Can you use your mic now, Prof?
Okay, so let me see.
Yes, please.
Okay, so excuse me, I have family, I have children with me, so it's difficult to control them. So, but I'll do my best. Anyway, I don't know the format, but I'll first introduce myself and then I'll ask Farouk about the format because I prepared just a short presentation and if that will be possible for me to go through that, that would be perfect. So I'm Dr. Joseph Asoma, Assistant Professor at the University of Manitoba. And so I had my BA in Sociology and Political Science at the University of Ghana with first class, and then I moved to the London School of Economics to do Master of Science in Health and Society, and from there to University of Manitoba here in Canada, and I'm a thesis based in sociology. And from there, I went to the University of Saskatchewan to do my PhD. After that, I have been teaching, so I taught for 1 year at the University of Saskatchewan, and then I moved to St. Thomas University in New Brunswick, where I taught for 2 years before joining University of Manitoba, now as Assistant Professor of Sociology and Criminology. So that is all probably you need to know about me. And so Farouk, if I know the format for presentation, then we can proceed accordingly.
Great, great. I'll allow Professor Solomon to also introduce himself, then I'll probably give you guys a high level what you expect from the two of you in terms of what the team is looking out for.
Hello, everyone. My name is Solomon Wachiado, and I'm an assistant professor at York University in Toronto. So what do? I did my BSc at KUST in aerospace engineering, and then I did my master's and PhD in mechanical and materials, engineering. And then at the University of Manitoba, right? And then from there, I went to University of Waterloo as an NSEC PDF. And from Waterloo, I joined York as an assistant professor. So basically, my research is on materials processing and characterization in terms of advanced materials discovery and processing, and then characterizing them with applications in aerospace, automotive, and then also the energy sector. Right? That's all about me. That's it.
Thank you. Truly appreciate the two of you, the time you allocated to this meeting. So basically, Professor Joseph and Professor Solomon, the format here is going to be high-level introduction, and probably when there is more time for subsequent meetings, we try and then put them in their special categories. Those in arts will meet Professor Professor Asoma. Those in engineering will probably meet Professor Solomon in that regard. But I just started this initiative a week or two ago, and I did have a lot of questions coming in as to the nature of the application process. I'm in sociology. How do I write my statement of interest and what's not? I'm engineering. How do I look for professors? So these are questions that I wasn't able to answer right away, and I thought maybe it might be a good initiative for us to have a quick meeting with the two of you. Let's hear from your perspective how to go about these two key questions and other related questions that I wasn't able to answer. And hopefully after this first meeting, we'll have a better sense of it, and we have a special Zoom meeting where Professor Solomon will have a special meeting with the engineering students, and Professor Asoma will have a special meeting with the general arts students. So that will be the nature of it as of now. So let me know if there are any objections to it, Professor Solomon and Professor Joseph.
No, that's okay. Works for me.
Okay.
Same for me as well. And let me say hello to Professor Solomon. It's been a long time.
A long time.
So it's nice seeing you today.
It is nice.
Although it's virtual, but at least I can see you.
Yeah, at least one of these days we will get a chance to meet,
Sure. Yeah.
So the room is now open to questions. Please feel free to ask your questions. We have the two of them here. I think they will be in the best position to answer all the questions that you had from last week that I wasn't able to tackle properly. I think the first one will have to, yeah, I think we have a first question. One, let me quickly see whether I can grant you the permission to tap. Let me see who has the hands raised. Yeah, I think we have Ghazali. Yeah, go ahead, Mohammed.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah.
Please, my question has to do with finding a supervisor and then how to go about it. I mean, the right way to approach the supervisors, and then how they will respond to you, like how you put the statement and then you are likely to be responded to. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I think we might want to start with Professor Solomon. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So for the sciences and engineering, so I'm talking for all the different engineering programs, and then also biology, physics, chemistry, those sciences, right? Typically, what happens is that the profs, they go for money for research. Okay, so I've gone for a grant application. They gave me some money to do some type of research. Okay, and then when I come in, then my task will be to get people who can actually do the research. That's the first thing. Okay, really, I know you want to come and do a master's and PhD, but for me, your master's and PhD is really not the reason why you are coming to Canada. For me, the reason why you are coming is for you to be able to do the research. And so I'm looking for people who are a direct fit for the research, that's all. Okay, so if you cannot present yourself, it's just like you're looking for a job in Ghana. If you see a job advertisement, and this is a job opportunity though, when you come in here, research assistant, you get the benefits of what, like health insurance and everything. So they consider you to be an employee of the university, all right? But the issue is that if you see a job advertisement and you are not a direct match for the job, you cannot apply. That is one. So then the whole thing is, how do you make yourself a direct match for the job? Okay. Now, to some extent, you are limited because it depends on the program you did, and then the experiences you've had or the work experiences that you've had. So my field is in material science and engineering. Somebody finishes. So for material science and engineering, if you do aerospace engineering in Ghana or mechanical or materials, anybody with this background is qualified for the research in material science and engineering. That's for sure. There are some courses that are kind of sister courses where when you do A, you can actually transition to B. For example, I did aerospace, and then I got an opportunity to do a master's degree in mechanical engineering, all right? But assuming I did something like, let's say, mathematics, then I wouldn't be able to apply for a mechanical engineering position or material science position, that kind of, it depends, all right, it depends. So you have to look at the research field of the professor that you are interested in. That's for engineering, okay? And then if you see that you have the basic background to do that type of research, that is when you need to prepare a CV and a transcript and then approach the professor. Okay, so you would have to send an email to the prof with your CV and your transcript, asking them if they have an open position for a graduate student. Now, if the professor agrees, that is when you can now go ahead and apply for admission. Because when you're applying for admission, they're going to ask who is your supervisor, who has approved your application. You can also go ahead and apply and be in the system. That is, if there's a prof who is, maybe I got a quick grant and so I have to get somebody to come tomorrow or something, or like, the next few months, then I can quickly go on to the application profile and pick somebody that I like in there. But that is really, it's like you're in the system. After a while, they will delete your name. It's like you didn't get anybody to sponsor you, right? So you don't get admission to the school. Not because you're not good, but it's because you don't have any identified professor who is willing to work with you. That's what happens in engineering and the sciences in terms of physics, chemistry, and biology and all that. So usually what I tell people is that if you see the job advertisement and you're a good match for it, then the first thing you need to do is that you need to prepare a very good CV that aligns you with the research interest of that professor. Now, a lot of the profs, maybe they don't do advertisements. Some of them they do, some of them they don't. Like I, for one, I've never done any advertisement before. But every time you have students sending their transcript and then their CV. Now, what happens is that people from Ghana, when they send only their CV, or sometimes they send only their transcript. Okay, really. that's really not a good thing. You have to send what, a CV and a transcript. And so the main problem is, how will I now prepare my CV for the prof to know that I'm a direct fit for this job or for this position? That's the main problem, because people really have first class, but then they are not able to align themselves with the research that the professor is doing. That is one. And two, it's very competitive. That's for sure. It's really, you're not the only ones applying. People are applying from China, from Bangladesh, from Iran, everywhere. So it's not like the prof really lacks the pool. The pool is already there. They just have to select the best ones who really are aligned with their research. Assuming the prof actually selects you, the second step is for you to do an interview with them. Okay, so for example, I have a group of students from Ghana, online, and then this week we have 2 people who have an interview with the prof. And again, if the prof will pick you, is dependent on your responses to the interview, So one of the people, he's been asked to make a presentation about his research. That's all that the prof is asking. Okay, so you can imagine, it's not as simple as, oh, you send an email to a prof and then the prof responds, yeah, okay, let's go ahead and apply. No, it's a little bit of a process, like you're looking for a job. So always you have to really position yourself at an angle where you be a direct fit for the advertised job. That is where I see the biggest challenge, okay, that people are not able to make a very good CV that actually matches the research interest of the professor. Okay, and so they send their first class and then their message, and it's not well received because it's like, I don't see any skill set that you are bringing to do this research, and that's it. All right.
Great. Thank you very much, Professor Solomon. We move on to Professor Masoma to give us a perspective on the art side, and I'll surely come in if need be. Yeah, Prof.
Okay, so the approach is not, different for social sciences. I'll speak for social sciences in particular. Just that I will highlight some few points. So for social sciences, some profs may have funded research projects. So if you are able to present yourself to show that you are a good fit for that project, there is a high chance, possibility of, that prof saying yes to your request your request for that prof to be a potential supervisor and so on and so forth. So that is there. We have funded research projects, but in some cases, there are no funded research projects. And you don't even have to have an arrangement where a prof, should give you a consent to being your supervisor if you are admitted. So it all depends on the school and the admission requirements and so on and so forth. So I just want to stress on that. So it applies. In some cases, you need to have potential supervisor before you can apply. In some cases, it does not, especially in with respect to masters, MA, and so on and so forth. Sometimes you don't need to. But if you have, if you are able to find a supervisor, that also will help in terms of, gaining admission. So how to approach profs? I will speak based on my own experience. So for instance, when I was applying for my PhD program, what I did was to, always you have to research the department, research the faculty, whatever, program you are applying for. If you go to the university website, you can find details about the profs, their contacts, their research interests, and so on and so forth, okay? So what I did in my case was to, read all because initially you don't know who will be a match for you. So you have to read. And sometimes if you know somebody who is attending this university that you are interested in, you can ask. So in my case, I also asked one PhD candidate who I met at a conference. And that PhD student was, in the same department I wanted to apply. So I asked him, who would be a good match for my interest in criminology. Okay, so he mentioned one professor. And what I did is that I went to the website, look at what that professor, that professor's research interests. And then there was one article I read, always when you're approaching professors, you have to be somehow specific. So what I did was, hi, Dr. Chen, that was the name. I have read your work on cheap capitalism in China, and it has inspired me to, do a similar research in the Ghanaian context by looking at food crime. Okay, so that is how I approach the professor. And if you approach the professor that way, it's like, so somebody is reading my work and so on and so forth. So I said, because of your expertise in this area, I would be privileged if you would, or if you can kindly accept to be my potential PhD supervisor, and so on and so forth. So I put it that way, and I said, thank you for your immediate response. So I didn't say much, but at least I mentioned the title of the article I read, his work I read, and some of the work that he's engaged in. And that's how I got connected. And then he, after sometimes they are busy. So if you don't hear from them for a while, that is okay. So maybe after a month or so, he came back to me and said, that would be great. So he agreed. And when I approached him, I also forwarded my, my transcripts, just for him to have an idea of, who I am. And then I gave a brief information about my education. Started in Ghana, did MSc, London School of Economics, and then MA, University of Manitoba. And so just a brief information. And that was how I got my PhD supervisor. For MA, I was not required to have supervisor before applying, with respect to University of Manitoba, Department of Sociology and Criminology. So basically, that is, for me, that is how you may approach some professors. Go to the site, read their work, and if you are interested in any of their work, be specific and cite some of the, some of the work that they have done in your response, in your email, telling them how you are inspired by their work and, your interest in having them to be your potential supervisor. So that is briefly how I went about mine. And I think sharing that experience might be helpful.
Thank you very much, Professor Asuma and Professor Solomon. Professor Solomon, you have a quick addition to that?
Yes, I do. So thank you very much, Professor Asuma. So, as Professor Asuma said, reading the Prof's research and then giving some info about the fact that you are interested in the research based on what you've read is really, really nice. Okay, I'll be happy to see somebody who says, I've read your work and, that kind of thing, right? So it's awesome, right? Now, for those who are applying to engineering and science, one of the things that you want to stay away from is telling the prof what you want to do, okay? So in my research, if you go on my profile, I'm doing additive manufacturing. I'm doing finite element analysis. I'm doing high strain rate impact, a whole bunch of things, right? And what is happening is that, for engineering, you have to the prof goes for money for a specific project, okay? And so if somebody writes to me that, I saw your work on additive manufacturing, and I'm very interested in doing a research on additive manufacturing. Maybe at that particular moment, I don't have any money for additive manufacturing, and I have money for maybe biomaterials. Okay, in that way, you get a negative response from me, but it's because of where your interest is. You know what I mean? And that is because of the fact that if I make a commitment to you, the experiments are expensive and I should have money to pay for those experiments. And so if I say that, I'm going to pick you because you're a very good student, you want to do additive manufacturing, and I don't have any money to pay for the experiment, you are stuck, right? So for engineering, I'll specifically say that stay away from telling the prof that, so people send me a message, I want to do a research on aerodynamics, blah, 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 blah. You're stuck because I don't have money for aerodynamics right now. I have money for some other thing. And it's very difficult to know that because profs don't really write, I have money for this on their website. For example, right now, I do material science, but I have money for a research on biomechanics, impact of the head. Okay, so I'm looking for people with biomedical or biomechanics background. But if you go to my research site, you will not see it. All you see is material science, blah, 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 blah. So if you write to me right now, you want to do something on, let's say, additive manufacturing, or you want to do something on impact, because of your interest, I will not recommend other things for you because I know that this is what you want. And that is not what I have money for right now. Okay, so for engineering, you might want to say, oh, I read your journal paper. I'm very interested in your research without giving any specifics because you don't know which current projects ongoing in the lab or which projects the prof really has money for. Because as soon as I pick you for additive manufacturing, it means that you should be doing research on additive manufacturing and might not have money to pay for any of the research. Okay, so that is the only thing I'll add to those applying to engineering and science.
Thank you very much. If you have questions, please raise your hand. Before we go to the next question, I wanted to quickly point out, I think Professor Solomon and Professor Joseph mentioned the fact that we need to get a good CV. So those interested in having a good CV, you might want to refer to this video by Professor Solomon. You can quickly click on it on my website. It's a YouTube link. He basically takes you through everything that you need to know in trying to write a good CV. And he also has this engineering group. I'll try as much as possible to connect you guys to him at the end of today's meeting. And those interested in meeting Professor Asuma as well, I'll try and have a special meeting with him after today's meeting. That being said, let me quickly see if there are any add-ups to what's mentioned today. If professors, okay, I think we have one from Francis. Francis, please go ahead and ask your question. If there are any additions, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Francis.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity.
Sure.
Well, I wanted to find out, some of us just completed our bachelor's, and from the field we come from, we haven't really been involved in research, as in so much research. The only research we do is our dissertation, but then we are interested in grad school the following year. For example, I completed this year, and I'm interested in starting graduate school next year. What can we do, and do we stand a chance of going into research? What can we do to make ourselves more marketable, as in so that we get accepted into research labs and by other professors? Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, Francis. So Prof. Solomon will go first, then Professor Asuma will come in.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Francis, for the question. That's really a very good question. Okay, and that is for people in engineering and the science. I'm talking about physics, chemistry, biology. That's where Ghanaian students actually do themselves a big disservice. Okay, so what's happening is that, one, a lot of the profs in engineering and then science, what they want is they want students who are current graduates. Okay, for me, if you graduated about 3 or 4 years ago, there's no chance that I'll pick you as my master's student or PhD student. And the problem is that I have the feeling that you've lost touch with the basics in terms of the fundamentals. Okay.
Okay.
So
yes, sir.
I like a lot of the profs, they will tell you they like people who are fresh graduates. That's for sure, because this person is coming in with all the basic knowledge and they can build up on that. Okay, I don't want the situation where my students will be coming to my office and asking me what is the meaning of this. Always like we are stuck with the basics because he's forgotten them. All right, that's one of the things in engineering. Two, in terms of proving yourself that you are you have the prerequisite research experience and all that, you've done it. Okay, so let me ask you, Francis, did you do an attachment?
I muted him. Sorry. Let me try.
Did you do an attachment?
Yes, I do attachments.
So what did you do? Which company did you work with?
Actually, hello? Yeah.
Yes.
I am in the field of construction and I work with a consultancy company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And currently I'm working with my institution at the Department of Works.
So you have, and did you do, what was your undergrad?
That's BSc in Quantity Surveying and Construction Economics.
Yeah. So why are you saying you don't have the research background? You have it. There's very thing you are doing in the companies, and then the very thing that you are doing with the institution. Those are when we say, oh, the person should have a research experience, I'm not saying that the person should have done exactly what they are coming to do. No. all right? But they should have some basic ideas. Well, I'll give you an example. You are doing quantity surveying, you're working with a construction company. What else do I need to prove that I have the experience? You know what I mean? Okay,
Yeah,
so
yes.
the attachments that you did, those attachments or the long vacations, you go work with some company, you gain some insight. That is all part of the research thing we are talking about here. Because when you do quantity surveying, when you come to the lab, the prof is doing some project on quantity surveying and all that, it's not like he's going to give you something abstract. No, it's going to be something that is very applicable in the industry because he's already gone for money from companies to solve their problems for them. And so the exact thing that you are doing with the companies, the skill sets or the kind of duties that you are doing in the industry can actually be brought out as what skill set for doing research. That's the main thing. So when you do an attachment, what specifically do you do in the company? In fact, what does the company do? What do you do in the company as a, an intern or whatever, right? Those things that you do may be very relevant to the research that the prof is doing. 1, 2, the projects that you worked on, the thesis that you worked on, the capstone project. Whatever capstone you worked on, it's really relevant to the field of quantity surveying. And I think if you really want to stay in the field of quantity surveying, any prof in this field will value that skill set. But then the issue is, what do I really write? Oh, we got some data and then we did some data analysis. Of course, if you are doing quantity survey, you should be doing data analysis. What softwares are you using for the data analysis? What are some of the statistical methods you are using for your data analysis? All these things are the very things the profs are using in their research. So you do your data collection and then you write technical reports and then but the issue is the data analysis, technical report writing and all that. That's the same thing the prof is doing in the lab. So for people who are fresh graduates, I don't expect you to have a whole bunch of experience in the thing, but at least the very small things you did with your capstone, with your attachment or internship and all those things can actually be laid out in the CV as your skill set. But you need to tailor them to the research that the prof is doing. That's all. That's all I would say, okay? So I think your attachments, your thesis, and you are working with the institution right now. If you are helping a prof to collect data, you are doing some data analysis, you are doing all of these things are all part of the skill set to do the research over here. Okay, so those things can actually be brought to bear on the CV. Then you can use that to demonstrate your skill set. And if you've finished your BSc for a long time, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's also a good thing if you can prove that the work that you did is relevant to the research that the prof is doing. Okay, I'll pick a fresh graduate who doesn't have an experience and train the person, or I'll pick an older graduate who has a lot of experience in my research field. You know what I mean? So that's how the two balances are for me and a lot of people I know in engineering and science.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Long. Professor Asuma.
I think that Prof has said a lot and there isn't much to add to that. I just wanted to stress a point of my prior response. For funding, if you want to know that your prof, the prof you want to approach has some funding, normally for social sciences, and I can speak particularly for sociology, they put on their website funding sources or research funding that they have and the type of projects they are doing. So maybe you got check funding for maybe research on corruption in Ghana or something of that sort. They normally indicate. So if you want to align yourself with what they are doing, you can clearly do the research, know what they have funding for, and then position yourself accordingly by saying that you are interested in their current research and something of that sort. So that is also another way to go about it. And in some cases, you also talk about the research, specific research fields of that professor. So for example, I do work on policing, human rights, corruption, and so on and so forth. So you can express your general interest in some of these areas. And I work on social legal matters as well. So without, specifically aligning yourself with just one article or one area of research. So that is also another way to do it. And just about whether you are a current graduate or you have, finished school for a long time. And I think that I agree with Prof. In my case, they wanted me even to do some, statistics and courses because, I completed in 2006 and I applied for MA Sociology somewhere in 2012. So that's very long break, although I had another master's at London School of Economics and Political Science, but that was not related to sociology. So that is, but then, when they admitted me and I said, no, I have done this. I even did and outperformed those who were current, who graduated currently, So it's unfortunate, but that can be used against you. But what I will stress on for social sciences is your statement of interest is so powerful. How you write that statement of interest is so powerful, and that can convey a convincing message to this hiring committee, the admission committee, that in fact you deserve to be admitted. And I always say that the statement of intent is just like an advertisement, your advert, telling the university or the department why you should be admitted. So as I said, it's different for sciences, as Professor has outlined, and there are similarities though. But for social sciences, sometimes you don't need to even approach any prof. It's once you are admitted and you do the first year, you do the coursework, and in the course of that, you have to search for a supervisor, a potential supervisor. And in some universities, especially for sociology and other, social sciences, they also have funding for PhD, and MA applicants. So in my case, for example, University of Saskatchewan, one of the requirements was to have published 2 peer-reviewed articles, or if you have attended 3 conferences, and then your GP and other things. And you had to be nominated by your department to be considered for that scholarship. And that was at the university level. So you didn't need any, if you are able to meet those, whatever requirements they have outlined, you are likely to get funded. So that's how I got funded. But before that, I had done my homework, saying I have, supervisor already, potential supervisor, and all of that. So the point I'm trying to stress is that you have to always read the requirements for admission and for funding. Okay, it's very important, and especially for social sciences. And in some cases, you might not need to contact or to get, funding, or promise to get funding from your potential supervisor. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you very much. Let me see whether there is any question in here. Before I move to the questions, I guess the other part of the question that Francis asked is basically the research was related to the field of engineering. How about the field of sociology and the rest, where we do have a strict requirement on the writing of the thesis? I see sometimes some of us do struggle putting up the chapters together. We get chapters being ripped apart that, hey, this is not good, this is not good. So Prof, what do you think might help us, those in the arts, to get ourselves up to the game in terms of the writing and meeting the research requirement in that aspect? We do sometimes struggle a lot with the writing.
Okay, so you want me to speak on that?
Yeah, for the sociology side, yeah.
Yeah, so, the admission committee is so busy, and they will not have time to read a whole thesis and so on and so forth. So normally what I advise is that you just take one chapter, or it's like take it to be an essay, whether you just focus on one question and address that question. So I've been trying to help some students write some of these sample, we call it sample work, sample written work, or something of that sort. So just focus on it. It could be a thesis statement, with an argument or whatever, or just one research question, and answer that exactly within a 20-page, the length shouldn't exceed 25 pages, or at most should be around 30 pages, because they don't have time to go through a lengthy thing. And so the writing is difficult for me to, align how, how that, should the format it should take. But at least it should have introduction, and then it should have a title, it should have introduction, and it should have body, and it should have a conclusion. And as I said, you have to address a specific research question, or it can be an objective, just a purpose of the paper, outline that clearly. And the introduction always start with the general, kind of stuff, and then you come down to the specifics and so on and so forth. It might take time for me if I want to go through that per se, but as I said, it should have a title, it should have introduction, and it should have the body, and should have conclusion. It doesn't necessarily need to have, those parts spelled out. The way you write, if I am reading that, I can say this is just an introduction, and this is just the main, body of the essay, and this is the conclusion. And I always advise students, you have professors or lecturers. When you have, something like that, approach them, give it to them, and let them read and get corrected, so that you can get corrected in that sense. So don't hide your work. Approach them. They are friendly. They are willing to help you, to succeed, wherever, to go wherever you want to go. So start with them, and then that's the way to go.
Prof. Solomon, with the capstone, is there any written requirements, or have you seen anything up on the writing aspect that might have occasionally put you off?
So in terms of me going to read their capstone?
Is there anything that from the engineering side, do you guys have a look at your capstone, or no? It doesn't.
Nobody will go read your capstone. That's for engineering. That's so far as I know, okay? Nobody's gonna. So see, you remember the difference actually is in the experiment that is being done, right? So the experiments are kind of dependent on whatever project the prof has been given money for.
Yeah.
And whether you like it or not, when you come, that's what you're going to be doing. Okay. You know what I mean? So I did aerospace engineering. I wish I got a master's program in aerospace, but no, my prof that I got was doing a research on material science and engineering, which was way different from my aerospace. So he thinks that I have the background and the basics, so I can do it. And it's like, okay, go ahead, right? So whether you like it or not, you would have to align yourself with the research that the prof is doing. That's really how. So if you don't have the interest, please don't apply. Because you cannot hardly will you write that, oh, I want to be able to do project A and B, and then you come in, you get that project. No, it's dependent on the project that the prof is working on, or the project that he has money for. That is where the whole thing is, right? And it's all because the experiments are very expensive. If I pick a master student, it's like you can spend close to $30,000 just in paying for cost of experiments. And so you want to make sure that the student can do the work. And it's actually something that the prof is already doing, not something that they want to do, unless they come in with their own funding. If you're coming in with your own funding, come on, you tell me whatever you want to do. Why not? It's free labor for me, right? Yeah. But if you want to be part of the group, then you would have to do whatever I'm working on, because that is what I have money for. That's where the whole issue is, right? And for going to read your capstone, no. Nobody will. Typically, so one of the guys have an interview with the prof this week, and the prof is asking him to prepare a PowerPoint slide on the research that he has done before, just to present to him. So he's like, okay, I did something on A, B, and C. He's like, okay, nice. Now make a PowerPoint slide and come and talk to me about the research that you did. What is he watching for? He's watching for your communication. He's watching for your, writing and all that, those kind of things. So it's like he wants to know whether this guy, and for the interview part, it can really be in-depth. Trust me, there's, it can go from as far as what you did in your first year engineering or whatever, right? And this is because you want somebody who has all the basics intact, and I wouldn't have to babysit that student. Because for engineering and science, I know when you come in Canada, if you come today, tomorrow you are going to the lab. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you're going to the lab tomorrow to start the work. It's not like, and you'll be trained though. So don't be scared that, oh, how will I do? I don't know how to use the equipment. Come on, nobody's going to allow you to work on an equipment because you have the background from Ghana. No, regardless, you get trained. And anybody who has that passion for the work can actually do it easily. And I see a lot of the guys, anybody who has a first class, second class, or whatever, when they come here, they can do their research. That's for sure. It's for sure, you can do it. But getting the person to really pick you up is where the challenge really is for engineering. And as Professor Asuma said, if you have friends in the university, that's your best bet. For me, I never respond to any of the emails, unfortunately, okay, because every single day I get at least 15 of them from different places. And I see it to be a lot of work to be responding to every single one of them. So I don't at all. But if somebody comes to my office and says, oh, and they do it a lot. I have Indians, Iranians, they always come to, this is my friend, he's very good, and he saw your research, and this is their CV and their transcript. Oh, okay, then I begin to look at it, right? And it's a good thing. It's something that helps. Now, another thing that is fighting against the African students is the transcript. The transcripts cannot be interpreted by the profs in Canada. That's so far as I'm concerned. I've had so many issues where a lot of the white profs bring students' transcript to me and they ask, oh, is it a good one? Why? Because even though they've described the details of the transcript at the back of the transcript, what is happening is that in Canada, we don't have A, B, C, D as we have in Ghana, or we have A plus, A minus. We have B, B plus, B minus, C, C plus, C minus. So how will a prof in Canada be able to know that my A in Ghana was an A plus or a B plus or whatever it is? So that is a big problem right now, because there are so many instances where I have friends at UBC. They will send me transcript for people from Cameroon and Ghana, Nigeria, and they'll be asking, is this in a good transcript? I'm like, well, you know what I mean? That's where the challenge is. So for people who can afford, if you can afford, I would say for engineering, you should go to World Education Service academic evaluation and get your transcript evaluated. They will convert your Ghana scale to the Canadian or the American scale. And that helps the profs to be they will be at peace in terms of what understanding or interpreting the transcripts. So many instances, the prof is like, okay, I don't know whether this is a good, they say it's a first class, right? But when they pick your transcript, they don't care about your first class. I want to know the person did mechanics of materials. What was their grade? And I go there, I see 70, and then the person has an A, or I see 60, and the person has a B. Over here, 70 is like, a C or so, right? Something like that, or a B plus. So the prof really is having a hard time interpreting all of these things. And that actually blocks the chance of some people. So I always tell the people in my group that if you can afford, try it. Okay. If not, that's fine. Just keep on and then let people follow up for you. Let people follow up for you. That is really a good skill. For me, somebody followed up for me, just like Professor Asuma. That's how come I came to Canada. I sent the emails, nobody was applying. It is what it is. You just keep on sending. And then there was a student who had actually taken a course with the prof. So he took my CV and went to the prof's office. And because he was a very good student, the prof was like, oh, okay, then your friend too can be a good student. Why not? And then that was how come I came to Canada. So as Professor Asuma said, following up, please, is the best, is the best. It's like you have to, if you have somebody there, let the person go to the prof's office with your transcript or your CV, and then let them kind of put in a word for you. It brings their attention to you, and that could actually mean something, compared to, sending to a lot of them, it's not like it's rude, I know, but as of now, I have over 2,000 unread messages. Trust me, I don't think it's the right time to be answering to every single, email that comes, right? So don't be, it's like if you're not getting responses, don't be sad, just keep on sending. The more you send, the higher your chances of getting, just like if you're looking for a job in Canada, the more you send to different companies, the higher your chances of getting called for an interview. That's how it is. So keep on sending. One of the people who has an interview this week, he sent to over 46 profs. And out of the 46, 2 of them have called him for an interview. So you can imagine, 46 different profs in Canada, and 2 of them have called him for an interview. So please just get a nice CV and transcript, send a nice word, and let them know you are interested in their research. You want to join their research group if they have an open position for a graduate student. Okay. Again, don't be too specific with the area. Just keep it a little bit open. Okay.
Okay. I have a question from Enoch. Enoch Vuki, do you mind using the mic, or do you want me to read it out? Which one works for you? You can raise your hand, and I can surely give you the permission to use the mic. So let me see whether Enoch is here. So let me quickly read it out. Maybe Professor Asuma can be of help. Professor Asuma, can you access the question by Enoch? Professor Asuma?
Is it typed?
It's kind of typed. I was wondering.
Okay, let me check and read what is there.
Yeah. And also, if you have any question, please raise your hand. We will be happy to answer. Enoch, yeah, please go ahead, Enoch. Yeah, Enoch, go ahead.
Can I speak now?
Yeah, I think you can. Enoch?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the admission process is very competitive. So if you don't get admitted,
1 minute. Let me see, so that we give everyone what the question was. Just so we get a good background. Enoch, please feel free to use the mic so we understand where Professor is coming from in terms of the questions. Enoch, is it okay? Can you use the mic now? Okay, I think Prof can go ahead, but Prof might also want to give a context as to what Enoch was asking. Yeah.
okay, so I'm saying that the question is about why Enoch didn't get admission at U of M and the University of Manitoba and University of Saskatchewan. And I was saying that the admission process is very competitive. So they receive more applications than spaces that are available. So all you can do is to keep on trying. I know you pay application fees, it's expensive, but that is the only way. So, and sometimes you might want to have somebody look at your materials, as I said, to see if there can be improvements or areas that need to be improved, and so on and so forth. So there is no specific answer. And nowadays too, they are, they are cutting down funding, most of the universities, and they don't want to admit any student if they don't have funding for. So that is also another issue. So, and that is something out of your control. So that is how the system is. Keep on trying, and probably another time you may be successful. That's all I can say.
Okay. I think the next question has to do with.
Farouk, can I come here? So, Enoch, what program did you apply to?
Hello, please,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Please,
now.
I applied for agricultural economics at USACS, and I applied for economics at the University of Manitoba.
Okay.
Hello. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prof. Solomon, I think the next one has to do with BSc Geological Engineering. You might want to have a look at it in the chat and see whether you can assist with that. And Collins, feel free to use the mic if you want to read it out as well.
Yeah. Okay. So Collins, it's so you're talking about you worked in the mine. That's good, right? And then you also that's one of the things. So geological engineering, what's happening is that again you have to check the research field of the prof. Okay. There are different research going on in geological engineering. Some people are doing GIS systems. Some people are doing rock mechanics. Some people are doing so many different things, right? And so you have to check the background that you have and compare it to the research field of the prof, whether you really are a good match, right? Now, if you're a good match for masters, you stand a very high chance if you really got a first class or something, right? But again, how will you present the material, the CV, to the prof? Okay. Now, for teaching in high school and all that, that's really not. It's not going to help in any way. Okay? It's not like he's employing you to come and teach. He's employing you to come and do a research. Okay, so he wants to see the research will come out. And again, so usually on the CV, if you watch the video that I did, I tell students that as soon as you give your general info, your name, your email, that kind of thing, we should move on to maybe a general statement on skill set, and then talk about research experience where you draw on the projects that you worked on in the mine. Okay, that's what the issue is. Somebody will say, okay, I did this project in the mine. I was maybe repairing the brakes of these equipment, or I was checking for wear and tear of these equipment, and that is really what they were doing. But that can also be related to the research that the prof is doing, because if you are not able to kind of tailor your CV to the specific research that the prof is doing, then he will see you as not a good fit. The fact that you work in a mine or not doesn't really mean anything. It's a matter of, what did you do there? Is it really a direct match to what I'm doing in my research? If yes, then you can actually present yourself in that angle and you should be fine, right? But if you are not able to present the skill set that you built up from the mining to be relevant to the research that the prof is doing, then you're a little bit out, because he thinks that you're not going to be a good match. That's really what I can say with that.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we have just about 4 minutes to complete this session. Professor Sumai and Professor Solomon might be somewhat busy. So please let me know if you have any other question. I probably might want to pick the last question for this session. I do have a quick question for the two of you. I think for Professor Solomon, it has to do with the transitioning. So if, for instance, I tried, I have engineering, I'm not getting any supervisor, do you advise, I know you might have moved from aerospace to material, but do you advise probably moving from engineering to maybe economics or any related field? So it's just so I get myself in and maybe later I can change. Is that advisable, Prof?
It all depends on your career goals, right? What you really want. It depends on that. What do you want? Why are you transitioning to economics? You want to do? Is it because you're not getting this? That's why you're going there, or you really love it, so you just want to do it? You know what I mean? That's really, it depends on what you really want to do in the future. So now again, if you are going into economics, then know that it will be a little bit challenging coming back to engineering. Okay, unless you hide it. If I'm picking a student is a first class student in material science, and then they went ahead and did 2 years or 1 year degree in economics, we are a little bit, we are done, right? That is if you're looking for a master's or a PhD. For me, because of the fact that I think you might not have the right interest, or that you might not have the right skill set to be able to do what I want, right? So be a little bit cautious of what you want to transition into, because if it is science, or if you want to do economics, of course you can. A lot of profs will hire you because you have your background. They will love the idea, right? Yeah, but the whole issue is that then when you are coming back to engineering, it becomes a problem, because how do you sell yourself now? You know what I mean? So that's where I think the challenge is. Transition is good if you really, that's what I want to do. Why not? I have a friend who just finished mechanical engineering, and he's now doing an MBA. It's an awesome combination. So it depends on your career goals and what you really, really want to do in the future.
Okay. I think we have Jabel. Jabel, please use the mic, and Professor Solomon and Professor Asuma, we have a question in the chat as well. So Jabel, go ahead, and we will finish with the last question in the chat. We're just about time now. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Solomon, and the insight you have given us. I think with regards to getting someone which is already in the school to recommend you, recently I sent an expression of interest to a professor, I think University of Columbia, British Columbia, and the professor told me right now the deal is most professors are looking for recommendations. So if I can get someone in other schools to recommend me, yeah, it's fine by him. But for now, he is not accepting any student. So thank you for that insight. My question is, what are the chances of someone who already has a master's by research in engineering, a master's by coursework in engineering, and the person now wants to do an MPhil or a master in engineering research based, because the person has an interest in lecturing in the near future? Is there any chances for the person, Doc? And if yes, how should the person go about in formulating his statement of purposes and mails to targeted professors? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jabel, for this. So one of the things that a little bit I wouldn't say we should be going into that angle is, if the prof has not asked you for a statement of purpose, don't submit one for engineering. Okay, for engineering, if they've not asked you for a statement of purpose, don't submit one. If they ask you for it, then please do it. All right. And the reason why I say that is I see a lot of people who submit statement of purpose, and when you look at it, it's like they have a specific area that they really are interested in. And as I said, in engineering, I have money for A, B, and C. Okay, so if you tell me that you want to do a research in D, which I have no money for, it means it's a no for you. Not because you are not a good student, but it's just that your area that you really want to kind of conduct your research, and I don't have money for it right now. But if you keep the loop open, the prof can actually determine your background and tell you that, okay, I have this open position, so maybe go ahead and apply. That's what I've seen in most cases, all right? So if they ask you for it, yes, go ahead. If not, please keep that and focus on the CV and transcript, okay? Now, if you did only coursework, it's good, why not? You know, it's just that if you did a master's and it's pure coursework, then it's very hard getting a PhD position in engineering, okay? I know a lot of profs will not pick people into a straight PhD program if they have course-based masters, okay? For one, I will not pick one, not because of it, but because the commitment for PhD is a huge one. I have to make sure I have money for 4 years to pay the research of the student and also to pay the student himself or herself, right? But again, if the person doesn't have any demonstrated level of research and they are moving into a PhD program, then I'm a little bit worried that they might get stuck along the way because there's that chance of those things happening. So maybe in those cases, what our advice is that you now apply for a master's program again. Okay, that is research-based master's program. Then after 1 year, you can approach the prof, seeing how awesome you are, they will now transition into a PhD program. And I have done that. I pick a student 1 year master's, and then I'm like, oh, you're very good. Let's go to a PhD if you want. And then we just switch to PhD, all right? But for you not to have any research experience and you wanting to do a PhD would be difficult. If you want to do a master's, yes, go for it. Go in there, you know, do an awesome job with the prof, and he'll be more than happy to transition into a PhD program.
Great. Thank you very much. Professor Asma, we have one coming in from the BSc side. I think Patrick Awom, if you might want to use the mic, that would be great. If not, I think we would just read it out loud. Yeah, Patrick, is there Patrick there?
No, I don't.
Patrick Awom?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Use the mic. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Patrick. Yeah, I did a BSc program in development planning, but after completing school, I had the opportunity of working with USAID on their program, the flagship program, Feed the Future, where I had some experience on some of their indicators that they have been looking for, looking at food security, malnutrition, poverty, and other issues that the Feed the Future program has to do with. So I am going into it, and the experience that I got from all these working with the flagship program, I feel like I should do a master's program in social science, where I can use the experience that I got from the USAID program so that it can help me better in life. So I want to find out whether I stand a chance of doing it, because I'm really motivated from what I have been working in Ghana, especially the 3 northern regions of Ghana. I feel like I should go into a social science course where I can really feel the impact of what I've been doing back at home. So I want to just find out from Prof whether I stand a chance of being admitted, because looking at the period that I graduated from school, it's been a very long period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. So I will say this, don't count yourself out. After all, even if you apply and you don't get, maybe the only thing you might lose is the application fees. Other than that, don't count yourself out, just apply. And as I said, your statement of intent is very important. And somebody asked a question about whether transcript, I would say GPA and statement of interest, which of them is important? I would say both. If you have a good transcript and in the statement of interest, it's not convincing enough, your transcript or GPA will be meaningless. So the two are very important, and especially the statement of intent, where you express your interest in the general interest in the, what do you call it? In the field of study you are looking forward, you want to apply for. And then you also talked about your qualifications, how you meet the requirements for that program. And you can draw also on your work experience as one of the motivations for for your intention to apply for further studies or something of that sort. So don't count yourself out, apply, but make sure your materials are in good shape. Let somebody have a look at that if you can. And that is all. And for those who might apply to universities that do not require you to have potential supervisor, in your statement of interest, you just mention some of the major research areas that the department focus on. Don't just target only one faculty member, because that faculty member may not be available for supervision. So in that case, just emphasize your interest in their research areas, the department or the, what do you call it, whether it's faculty or school, their research interests, and then leave it as that. Okay, so as I said, don't count yourself out, apply, but make sure your materials are in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are just about time, and I don't want to go beyond the promised time. So Professor Solomon and Professor Suma, thank you very much once again. If the group is interested in further insights as to the specifics in terms of engineering and sociology and social sciences, I'll surely see whether I can get in touch with you guys to schedule another meeting. That being said, we have a meeting coming up tomorrow with Professor Chua Megashi, who is from the economics faculty as well, or if I might want to say. So feel free to join tomorrow. I'll put the recording on the website. Please feel free to access it. But as I pointed out earlier, we have a very good material that we can rely on by Professor Solomon, which has to do with the CV. I think this is very, very important. Please have a look at it and write your CV accordingly. Don't have issues with your CV, because that's extremely important. Once again, we are very, very happy to have the two of you give us the insights that was needed for the application process. And thank you very much for joining, everyone. See you guys tomorrow if time allows. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invite. Thanks.
Thank you for the invitation. And Professor Boachi, I don't see you another time.
Sure. We need to do a reunion, I think.
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks. Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye. Farouk.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Bye, Prof.